Have you ever noticed such a phenomenon in life? Some people have high education but find it hard to make progress in society. Some have extraordinary temperament but poor interpersonal relationships. Some are outstanding in ability but do not receive recognition from their leaders. If you observe carefully, you will find that most of these people have a common problem: low emotional intelligence. They can be disliked and make people want to keep their distance with just one word. Entrepreneur Li Xiang once told his employees, "IQ is intelligence, but only when combined with high emotional intelligence is it wisdom." The following 10 low emotional intelligence behaviors will make your interpersonal relationships go downhill. 1. Treating candidness as straightforwardness. When Li Xiaolai worked at New Oriental, a school principal wanted to ask him to build a corpus for the school. This was a good job for Li Xiaolai as he was good at it and could also make money, and they had a pleasant conversation. Finally, the principal asked Li Xiaolai, "What support is needed for building the corpus?" Li Xiaolai blurted out, "There's nothing much that needs support. Just hope this isn't a case where it disappears after a new principal takes over." As soon as the words were out of his mouth, Li Xiaolai regretted it. In fact, he wanted to express that this was a slow job that needed some time. However, without a filter on his mouth, the lively atmosphere instantly cooled down, and the matter of building the corpus for the school naturally came to nothing. Have you noticed? Many disputes and misunderstandings in life are caused by speaking too quickly, and even though there is no malice, people are offended because they speak without thinking, and with good intentions they end up being blamed. Socrates said very correctly, "Before speaking, sieve your words, think twice before speaking, so as not to hurt others without realizing it." 2. Treat interference as advice. Many people like to act as experienced people and comment on others' lives. They always say things like, "Listen to me. You should. This is wrong." Everyone has different experiences and values, and what is sweet to you may be poison to others. Your self-righteous advice may seem like pointing fingers or even negation to others. Think about it, those elders who urge marriage and childbirth as soon as they meet, aren't they quietly blocked by their children? Those who always interfere with their friends' choices and like to be teachers, aren't they left without friends in the end? The most taboo in adult social interactions is to interfere with others' lives. Your experience may not apply to everyone. Always being self-righteous and preaching only shows that you are of a lower level. Jean Wei-chun once said, "As an ordinary person, I dare not aspire to be a role model, but just by giving up the desire to be a teacher, I have already done a great good." Don't wander around in others' worlds, don't point fingers at others' lives, and put away your desire to be a teacher, so as not to ruin the relationship between friends. 3. Treat the 8 trigrams as a topic of conversation. Do you have someone around you who loves to gossip? They often use others' gossip as their own favorite topic. However, they don't realize that every time they talk, they are setting a time bomb for themselves, which may be exploded at any moment by others. In reality, many people start talking about others' gossip and making comments when they are bored. When they find that a new person at the unit is familiar with the leaders, they start to speculate that the other person has taken a back door. When they see 2 people arguing, they start to comment on who lacks emotional intelligence and who is not honest. In fact, the gossip you say behind someone's back will definitely reach their ears, and the result will only cause trouble and bring misfortune upon yourself. As the saying goes in the collection of Proverbs, always think of your own mistakes when sitting quietly, and never talk about others' misdeeds when chatting. Gossiping about others and stirring up trouble will only make you isolated and unsupported. 4. Treating helping someone in the snow as something that should be taken for granted. In a dispute mediation program, I saw a story. A brother sued his brother, asking him to move out of his own home no matter what. Originally, the brother had been away from home for more than a decade, and after returning home, he had nowhere to stay. His younger brother kindly took him in to live together. Who knew he would stay for years, relying entirely on his brother for food, clothing, housing, and transportation, with no intention of moving out. More importantly, the brother regarded his younger brother's efforts as something that should be taken for granted, showing no gratitude. Whenever the younger brother wanted the brother to move out, the brother would scold him for being unfeeling and not showing family affection. In the end, the younger brother had no choice but to call the police to resolve the matter, and the relationship between the 2 brothers came to an end. I once saw this sentence: "I give you a candy every day, you get used to it and think it's something that should be taken for granted. One day I don't give you one, you get angry." The most hurtful thing in this world is that I help you in the snow, and you burn me with the charcoal. I treat you as a family member, and you treat me as a fool. If you only take and are unwilling to give, even the best relationship will appear to be disliked. 5. Treat showing off as sharing. Feng Jitsai once wrote in his book, "Modesty is for living in one's own world. Flamboyance is for living in others' lives." In life, we will always encounter people who like to show off everywhere, showing off their happiness, showing off their wealth, showing off their knowledge. But excessive showing off will only cause others to feel uncomfortable. Carnegie once said, "Understand how to control one's own brilliance. Avoid hurting others and making enemies. When a tree is taller than the others, the wind will definitely destroy it. Be gentle and soft like water. Blend with the light, and only then can relationships flow smoothly." 6. Treat complaints as confessions. Once, gourmet Ceylon was chatting with a friend, and the friend asked Ceylon, "Have you always been accommodating to people? Whether it's with garbage collectors or street vendors, you can talk for a few minutes, so do you have anyone you don't like?" Ceylon said, "Yes, I dislike complainers the most. Those who sigh and groan but are not positive about improving their lives. Negative people whose contact can easily drain your energy." Many people habitually confuse complaints with confessions, always making the listeners bear their negative energy. However, everyone has their own emotions that need to be soothed, and if you continue to exhaust your energy to cure others' anxiety, you will only exhaust yourself. No one likes a person who complains all day long. Whom you complain to is pushing the other person away from your life. 7. Treating sarcasm as humor. Actor Su Zhang started going bald in college, and he carefully applied hair growth serum to his scalp with a brush every day. Every time he was treated, Su Zhang was surrounded by his roommates, who teased him back and forth. When Su Zhang spilled the hair growth serum, someone joked, "Do you think the table will grow hair?" Another person chimed in, "Just look at his head. The effect isn't very good." These so-called teasing words, in fact sarcastic, made Su Zhang feel inferior in the shadow of hair loss for many years. Humor is always based on respecting others, making each other feel comfortable, not using the disguise of humor to mock others, point out their shortcomings, or pour salt on others' wounds. Many disputes and misunderstandings in life are caused by speaking too quickly. Humor is always based on respecting others, making each other feel comfortable. Treating sarcasm as humor can lightly spoil the mood, seriously hurt people's hearts, and even lead to the end of a relationship. Expressing one's opinions delicately and considering others' perspectives is the only way to avoid making each other feel embarrassed and to have good relationships. 8. Treating taking small advantages as being thrifty. When the author Cha-Cha was in college, she had a roommate from a poor family, whose father was disabled. At first, everyone kept silent and always helped the roommate, sharing food and necessities with him. The roommate got used to this special treatment and often borrowed everyone's meal cards but never mentioned the meal money. When some classmates received scholarships, the roommate would pretend to be pitiful and ask them to pay for meals. When going out for group meals, the roommate never paid either. If anyone dared to have an opinion, he would complain, "We are all classmates. Is it necessary to argue about such a little amount? If I had money, I would definitely pay it back." While taking advantage of others, he also wanted to get something for nothing. After a while, everyone knew his habits and gradually distanced themselves from him. Always wanting to get something without giving anything in return, always enjoying the convenience brought by others, he thought he was thrifty, but actually exposed his character and outlook. Spending time with such a person, no one would be happy. 9. Treating argumentation as reasoning. In real life, there are always some people who can silence others with just a few words. You say smoking is harmful to health and they refutation. Some people have smoked their whole lives and still live to be in their 80s and 90s. You say one should strive while young, and they mock, "Haha, without a background, no matter how hard you try, it's useless." Regardless of what others say, this group of people always tend to argue against. They think they are eloquent and have insightful opinions, but in others' eyes, they are only sarcastic and resentful. People who argue always want to compete for superiority in relationships, which is easy to lose long-term relationships. Everyone has their own beliefs and values, and arguing will only breed resentment and exhaust oneself. As the entrepreneur Yin Mingshan once said, "Whenever something happens, one must argue to win or lose. Who else is suffering but you?" To always refutation and argue everywhere in the long run is to cut off one's own path. 10. Treat people's kindness as a shortcut. Chun Ming's father came from a rural background, worked hard, passed the exam, became a policeman, and moved his family from the countryside to the city. Seeing his father's life getting better and better, relatives from his hometown came to him one after another, asking him to handle various troubles. Some asked him to arrange jobs, some asked him to help with household registration, and some asked him to introduce partners. For more than a decade, Chun Ming's father always tried his best to meet the various demands of his relatives, making himself exhausted. However, the relatives regarded his help as something taken for granted, and sometimes they would even come without notice and live off others. Once during the spring festival, when the relatives were sitting together drinking, someone again asked Chun Ming's father to do something, and he finally couldn't bear it, losing his temper with the alcohol. He said he would cut off the relationship with his relatives and never communicate with them again. From then on, the relatives no longer troubled his father. The relationship became distant, but the days were peaceful. Many people think that kindness is a shortcut for doing things which saves money and effort. However, no matter how close the relationship, it can't bear the greed that has no return, and no matter how deep the kindness, it can't stand for taking for granted. Using people's kindness should be limited, not to trouble others, not to take advantage of others, to leave space for each other's interaction, and to leave room for future communication. The book What is Emotional Intelligence writes, emotional intelligence refers to a person's ability to feel, understand, control, use, and express his own and others' emotions. It is not about how many flowery words a person can say, but about knowing to think from others' perspectives. In interacting with others, always put yourself in others' shoes, care for their feelings, and show respect. People who put others in their hearts and keep a lock on their lips will win appreciation and respect wherever they go, and no matter how close the relationship, it can't bear the greed that has no return.